Okay, welcome everybody to the webinar tonight. I'm Trevor. I'm your presenter. And as always, on a Thursday night like this, we're talking marketing for our websites. Specifically, marketing principles for the homepage tonight on an e-commerce site. And there's some very specific things that any good e-commerce site should have done on their homepage, at least from a search engine marketing perspective. So that's the topic, SEO on the homepage, and we'll see if we can cover it in plenty of detail using, as always, this example, uptownpearl.com, which up to today had no SEO done on the homepage. And I got on there and really just got that all polished up. So I want to show you guys what I did, what's important for an e-commerce site. We're going to do it showing you guys the Volusion builder. I know not everybody is on the Volusion e-commerce web builder. It's kind of the one of choice here for us. This is what we recommend to our clients because we think it's the best. And but that doesn't mean your builder's not good either. So as long as your builder can do some of the things that we're going to talk about tonight, that's really the important thing. All right, so let's see here. Let me show you a couple of things that we've done right away here on the homepage. I'm going to show you some examples of other sites, and then kind of my thought process going through this. First of all, you guys got to understand that the homepage of your site is probably by far your most powerful page. And what I mean by that is the search engine certainly knows that your homepage is in fact your homepage, so they lay a little more emphasis on it. And a lot of times in SEO, your homepage is the page that attracts a lot of links from other websites. So other websites that are out there that link over to you, most of your links will probably accumulate to your homepage, which makes a difference from an SEO standpoint. The more links you have pointing into your homepage, the stronger your site is overall. And just because naturally that's where you get a lot of your links, your homepage ends up being pretty strong. So I tell you guys that mainly because I want us to pick a pretty competitive phrase a lot of times for the homepage to do SEO around. So up to this point, if you guys have seen some of my other webinars, you know that each page on our e-commerce store has a keyword phrase focus, right? It has a target phrase or kind of like our goal for the page, what we really want to see our homepage rank for. And naturally, it's going to rank for some different things, but we can really choose what we optimize it around. And in this case, guys, I chose pearl jewelry, okay, which should be obvious. Pearl jewelry, that's what my site's all about. It fits my homepage really well. And I'm going to show you just briefly here the numbers from the Moz keyword tool, which I highly recommend if you haven't used it before. It's called the keyword analysis tool. This takes a lot of the guesswork out of choosing keywords. You're going to see right here, and I'm going to zoom in on this so you guys can see it just a touch better. Jewelry, or I'm sorry, pearl jewelry, right here, pearl jewelry. You can see the keyword difficulty is 49%, which is a little on the high side. It's kind of the top of that threshold that I'd really try to have you guys target. But since it's the home page, I don't mind doing it because usually your home page, like I explained, is a little better from an SEO standpoint. So if you want to target that home page with something more competitive, go ahead and do it. That's fine, and so that's what I'm doing right now. So 49% is what we're looking at. And then if you look at the Bing search volume, it's pretty popular too. It's a good popular phrase, several thousand there, which means probably across the entire internet, it's going to be, it's going to be much bigger. So good quality phrase here. That's what I'm going to choose for my homepage to optimize it around. So I've got my target, right? That's what I want it to rank for. Using this Volusion software, I'm going to show you guys how I optimize for that. So here we go. Let me log in first. Actually, let me show you the homepage first. I've actually made a bunch of changes. We recently had coded in a little slideshow here, which is kind of cool. It's certainly not something you have to have. In fact, a lot of my clients have a really nice static banner on their homepage. which is fantastic. You don't have to have a fancy slideshow. You know, they're nice, but it's a little more gimmicky. It's not something you absolutely need. You just need a really good quality banner. So we've got a slideshow going. We've got our featured products just below that. We've got an additional banner right here that was developed pretty recently. Actually, I think this banner was developed early on in the site. That was kind of like the static homepage banner, and then we've just moved it down the page. And then we've got our free shipping banner, and then you'll notice we added a bunch of content to the very bottom of the page. So that's kind of what the homepage looks like. This really isn't about homepage design. It's more about, you know, SEO for your homepage, on-site optimization. But my thing is, as long as your homepage has good navigation, has a logo, you know, a brand at the top, maybe has a nice static banner, and then a couple of featured products, that's good. You don't really need a lot of the gimmicky stuff that you see out there. Remember, after all, what's the point of our homepage? The point of our homepage is to motivate somebody to click deeper into the site. And then what's the point of getting somebody to click deeper into our site? Well, eventually we want them on a product page and we want them to pull the trigger and buy something. So the homepage is just, it's a means to that end. And so if you can get people to click deeper into your site without all the gimmicks, that's what you want to do. And that's why a good solid banner and featured products is usually pretty good. But as you'll learn tonight, this element right down here, this actual written content is going to be key, just like it is in all the other SEO we've been learning about. Okay, so let's move on. And seriously, guys, ask questions as you guys have them. But let's move on and let's move into specifically what SEO needs to happen. And I'm going to make a list with you guys. I'm going to bring up my wordcounter.net tool here just so I can make a list of sort of what our priorities are from an SEO standpoint. So I'm going to list, you know, 1 through 6 or 7, depending on how many bullet points we make here, of what we should do for SEO. So I'm going to say SEO, or we'll say on-site SEO for, we'll say an e-commerce homepage. Okay. Item number 1. We need a meta title. Okay. Meta title exists on every page, or should. We've done it for the product page. We've done it for the category page. Time to do it for the home page. So we need a meta title. Along with that, we need a meta description. Okay. We've done that for our other SEO. You're going to see a lot of rollover here. There's not a lot of like new elements here of SEO. General on-site SEO applies to kind of any page. We just do it a little bit differently on the home page. Number 3, how about this one, guys? What about the meta keywords section? Now, we've talked about this in other webinars. Tell me, meta keywords isn't. I mean, it's a section of your meta tags where you can put in keywords to tell the search engine. So let me ask you guys a question: essential or non-essential? Is it something we need to do or not? This is kind of like a little mid-webinar pop quiz here. For you guys who are new to the webinars, or this is the first one you're seeing, you may not know. But meta keywords, do we do it or don't we? And let me clarify what that means too. Let me go here to the admin. If you're using Volusion, I'm going to assume you've logged in and you can get to this spot where you can select Manage Store. Okay, and if you're doing meta tags for the home page, you have to do it through marketing and SEO, this section right here. Okay, under the marketing tab, and then SEO, the sub tab there. And then you come right here. You don't want to do anything in default. In fact, default values, this section that's highlighted first, leave it blank. Don't make the mistake of putting anything here, because whatever you put here would override every meta tag you've created on the site, which would destroy us from an SEO standpoint. So you want to leave this blank. I'm talking this right here, homepage. Okay, you got the meta tag title, You've got the meta tag description, and then you've got this meta keywords box. This meta keywords box was offered on the other pages as well, categories pages and products pages. But let me tell you guys something. Leave it blank. We actually don't use it at all. The only meta tags you guys do is the meta tag title and the meta tag description. This field hasn't been used in like 10 plus years. Google came out and admitted it. They said, when we're considering rankings for a site, we actually don't even look at the meta tag keywords section. Now, I'm not saying keywords aren't essential, because they are, but I'm talking about keywords used in the meta tag title and the meta tag description. When given an option to put in meta tag keywords, leave it blank. You don't need it. Google doesn't care about it. It's not worth your time. People in the past used to do something like this. They would type in pearl jewelry, pearl necklace, pearls, quality pearls, pearl bracelet. They would just list a bunch of keywords, and Google ended up looking at that like that's not even valuable. People would try to cheat the system just listing any keyword they could think of, and it just it's not something that's ever even considered. So there it is, guys. I guess that was almost like a trick question, because I think a lot of you said, yeah, let's let's do it. Well, let's actually not. Leave it blank. Save yourself the time, because it doesn't impact us from an SEO standpoint. So we're going to keep that blank, okay? So let me come over here. We're just going to delete this out. Meta keywords, we're not going to use it. Okay, so H tags, H1s. I'm going to say H1 tag, but I'm going to say H tags in general, because there's multiple. We'll talk about that in just a second. Alt tags is another one, or in other words, image alternative text. Okay, alt tags is one, and we're going to go through each of these individually. So I'll circle back and do that. We need unique content, right? And what do I mean? What do I mean by unique content, guys? For those of you guys who are here, what are we talking about when I say unique content? And I'm going to clarify that, not just unique content, but we need unique written content. What is that? What is unique content? It's definitely been a big highlight of some of the things we've talked about the last few weeks. While you guys are thinking about that, let me look back. Let me look back at some of the questions that have already come in. Kirk says, so just double checking, you said do not click on default. Yeah, so if you're in here doing SEO for your homepage, default values, leave it blank. Don't put anything there. Make sure you're putting in homepage meta tags right here and saving your work when you're done. Laura says, does that include each product page as well? Meta tag keywords not needed, I mean. Yes, we don't. So meta tag keywords is a field that you won't do on any of your pages. It's offered in a lot of web builders. It's offered in Volusion, but it's a non-essential SEO factor, and it's been that way for a lot of years. Anybody who tells you that meta keywords are important hasn't been keeping up with the changes search engines have made. So that ought to clue you in if somebody tries to tell you that. They actually don't know what they're talking about. That's completely non-essential. So back to this idea of unique content for a sec. Let me see some of the things you guys are saying. I'm seeing not copied content, which I agree with. Can't be anything copied. It has to be something you've done yourself. It's original. Doesn't mean you have to like come up with the idea yourself completely. You can go out and source this material and find what other people are writing and writing it in your own words, but it has to be in your own words for sure. There's no way you guys can get away with this idea of, copying like a paragraph from somebody else and then changing a couple of words here and there. I promise you, Google will catch that and you might get penalized for it. So it really does need to be unique, completely unique and original to you. Now, if you're not a writer, I've got solutions for that. We'll talk about that tonight. I'm not a writer. I can tell you that. My background is in finance. I'm a numbers guy. I'm not an English guy or an English major. But it's just like any skill. I've learned to write content, and over the years I've gotten better at it. So I know if I can learn, you can learn. That's for sure. But for those of you guys who don't really care to learn, I've got some solutions. Okay. Now, I'm also going to add kind of a sub point under this. I'm going to call this 5A. Okay. And 5A is within this content, we need to use our main keyword phrase. Okay. In this case, our main keyword phrase is pearl jewelry. So that needs to be used within the content, not too much. We've talked about this before. You don't want it to become blatantly obvious that that's what you're trying to target to Google by using it every other sentence. You want to use it a little bit, not a lot. We'll talk through that when we do it here in just a second. Okay. And then I would say 5B, this is pretty non-essential, but I'm going to put it anyway. Bolding, or we're going to say italicizing your content. Or I'm sorry, your target keyword phrase. So if you bold it or italicize it, every once in a while that has some, or they say has some indication that it helps you from an SEO standpoint. So I'm going to list it there, but it's very sort of non-essential. So that's kind of like, I guess I would say it's optional. I do it a little bit, but I don't think it really does anything big in particular. Okay. Okay. Let's see. I'm just checking my notes, guys. I want to make sure I'm not missing anything important. Let me check back with you guys too. Okay, I want to read this. Marla, you said my SEO guy, and I know you're working with kind of an outside company, told me to do meta keywords. Kind of scares me. Well, it would me too, because somebody who's recommending meta keywords, I mean, it worries me that they're not up to date on what search engines want. And you can prove it to them too, Marla. I don't know if you guys have heard the name Matt Cutts before. I'm going to Google this guy for you. Matt Cutts, does that sound familiar? Have any of you guys ever heard of this guy? He, big time Google guy, been there for a while. In fact, if you read his Wikipedia, it says Matt Cutts, or Matthew Cutts, leads the web spam team at Google and works with the search quality team on search engine optimization issues. This is the guy who's kind of in the know about Google, because he's the one that works with the team to figure out algorithms and sites being penalized or rewarded for different SEO things, right? If anybody knows, it's this guy, Matt Cutts, okay? And that's where a lot of people like me or other SEO guys, they sort of figure out and learn SEO from people like directly from the source. We're drinking from the source when we listen to Matt Cutts. But he's got a video, and I'm going to see if I can find it here. Meta keyword. I think it might be this one. I should shoot this out to everybody here. He essentially says, I know you guys can't hear this video, but he essentially says meta keywords aren't even something Google even looks at and hasn't looked at for a lot of years. So like you've heard it from the source right here. I promise you, if your SEO guy is telling you that, it's just not true. There might be other little search engines out there that look at it, but since Google doesn't, nobody in the SEO field really cares about those meta tag keywords. So I won't go any more detail on that. You guys can Google it and look it up. But yeah, I'm telling you right now, it's non-essential. So Marla, I don't know what to tell you about that. If your SEO guy's recommending that to you, I'd be a little suspect, I suppose. I guess I'd be a little nervous about maybe some of his other recommendations, because that's been an obvious one for a long time. Okay, let me see if I've got any other comments here. Yeah, Sam, you wish he was your friend? Yeah, I wish I knew this guy too. I mean, this guy's been with Google so long. I'm sure he's got tons of stock there and is a multi-millionaire, smart guy. So I mean, follow him if you want the latest on SEO. He's a guy to listen to for sure. Bill says, can you use references to copyrighted articles? You could. Like you could take a an article and copy some of it and actually give credit to the author and put it on your site, but you can still get hit for a duplicate content penalty. So I would prefer you guys just take your own unique content. If you see a really nice written article, spin it for yourself. You can give credit to the source, certainly, but you're going to want to write that uniquely on your site for sure. I don't want you guys to get hit with any sort of penalties. Okay, so let me move along here for just a second. Sorry I got off on that tangent, but that's how important it is just to know the right type of SEO. Okay, so I don't think, I think I'm going to leave it at those 5 points, and we're going to talk about them in detail here. So let me show you what I've done on this homepage. We're going to go back to Uptown Pearl. Again, we're under marketing, and we're under the SEO section, and we're looking at the meta tag title for this page. Okay, so the title we've chosen to use is Pearl Jewelry dash free shipping. And then we branded our site with uptownpearl.com. Remember, the meta title is what shows up in search engine results. And since we just changed this, if I looked up Uptown Pearl right now, I doubt that would even be the case. I can Google it right now and see, because we just changed it. Google hasn't had a chance to, to even update their algorithm. Yeah, here you go. So here's our site. Notice this right here was the default meta tag title for our homepage, and that's of course not what we want, right? That's not a keyword phrase, so I'm changing that for that reason. This right here is the meta description, but look at this. There's nothing valuable in here. Look, I mean, it's just a bunch of incoherent words. It's probably pulling this information from my footer, because at the time there was no text on the page, and I certainly hadn't put in a meta description. So there's nothing valuable here for the customer. I want this to be some good marketing material, and I want this to stick out. So anyway, bottom line is that's why we're changing this up. Use your main keyword phrase and then maybe a little bit of promotional material here in your meta title. Try not to do any more than about 55 characters. Meta description, you're going to read here, it says a range of beautiful and authentic pearl jewelry. There's that keyword phrase used again, right? And it says free shipping on all orders. Shop real pearl necklaces, bracelets, earrings, and more. That's much more informative. On top of that, it's less than 155 characters, which is where you want to be from a meta description standpoint. It uses my main keyword phrase, and it gives some useful content. It helps you understand what the page is about. That's an example of a well-done meta description, okay? And that's all you need to do. So that covers your meta title. That's done. Your meta description. That's done. That's kind of the easy part, in my opinion. We're going to move on here. If you look at our list, we're going to move on to H tags. Now, somebody tell me real quick, maybe somebody who's been to one of these other webinars, what's an H tag? What does that even mean? Here I go quizzing you guys again. It comes in all different kinds. There's an H1 tag, an H2, an H3, an H4, an H5, an H6. Really, most times on a homepage, we'll probably just do an H1 tag and call it good. But what is it? I'm seeing a header tag. Somebody said header. Several of you guys said header. Yep. Stephanie, and this is a good point, Google sees an H tag as more important. I guess think about it like this. If Google is looking at your website, it's kind of like somebody looking at a newspaper, right? Like if you're holding the front page of an old school newspaper and you're looking at it, what do you usually see first? You usually see like pictures and headings, right? Like news article titles, because they're usually bolder and bigger. And it's kind of the same for Google. When they come study your guys' website, especially your homepage, they're trying to figure out what it's all about. And if you tell them what it's about through putting your main keyword phrase in an H tag, they lay a little more emphasis on that. So if I get that target phrase, pearl jewelry, in an H tag on my homepage, I'm going to be in good shape, okay? That could help me from a relevance standpoint. So I'm going to look to work that into my content here somewhere. Now, if you guys look, I'm going to take you guys back out to my homepage, and I'll show you. Just by looking at it, you'll probably be able to figure out what my H tag is. It's bolder, bigger text. and I scroll down right here, here it is. Pearl jewelry from Uptown Pearl. That's my H tag. Okay. And I use my main keyword phrase in it right there. Easy as that. Now, if you're creating an H tag, you just have to do a little trick to it. It's way easy to do. At least in Volusion, it's easy. If I wanted this text to be an H tag, I would highlight it, just like I did right there. I would go up to the toolbar right here. I would select this option, and I would select header 1. That automatically creates the HTML to make it an official H tag. Stephanie, you bring up an interesting point. So let's say we create this as an H tag, right? But let's say we don't like the size, okay? Let's say we want to make this smaller, because if you put it as an H1, it automatically expands it out into a pretty good size. If I changed it to like an H2, it would make the size a little lower, an H3, or sorry, a little smaller, an H3, even smaller than that, an H4, so on and so forth. But you want it to be an H1. So the answer is yes, like you can size it down. I'm going to size it down right here. Let's say I want to make it just like a, 18-point font or whatever right here, okay? Change it to 18. You see how it shrunk it down quite a bit? And the way I can verify, Stephanie, that it's still an H tag is if I come up here and I look at the HTML of the page. Now, if I click this button, guys, it's going to change the page from something that a user would see to something that the search engine sees. When a search engine looks at your site, this is what they see. They just see a bunch of code like this. So we just changed what we were doing into code, and I'm going to just hunt for it, the H1 tag, and sure enough, here it is. See that? H1, Pearl jewelry from Uptown Pearl. Sure enough, it's still there, even though we sized it down. So hopefully that answers your question, Stephanie. You can size it down. It doesn't hurt. It doesn't hurt it. It definitely still is an H tag, which will help us from a relevant standpoint. Okay? I'm going to size that back up, actually, because I prefer that to be a little bit bigger. Yeah, there we go, 24. Okay? So follow-up question. So if you write your content, can you make a word phrase an H tag instead of bolding? Will that give it an advantage? No, I mean, it's meant to be a heading. So like if you've got a page of content and you want to do an H tag, make it an actual heading. When you get into like using it for a purpose that it's not intended to be, that's when you start getting into, maybe doing stuff that's a little shady in the eyes of the search engine, because they'll know it's not a heading. They'll see how text is around it, and it'll just look a little awkward. So no, I would say use it as a heading only. And there's always a place to create a heading like that on a page. All right, so that's your H tag, guys. On a really long page, you could have multiple H tags. But on a page like this, especially a home page, one is just fine. Now, let me chat for a second about this written content right here, okay? I actually put mine in columns, and I'm not going to show you guys tonight how to create these columns. I'll give you kind of a little heads up on how to do it. You don't need to put it in columns like I did. I just felt like it looked a little bit better on the site. I just felt like it was a little more organized. You would be more than okay with your content with just putting it in regular paragraphs, and that's how it will be done by default. I just like the look of these columns. The problem with it is when I programmed these in, I created what's called a table in my HTML. And you can create a table with this toolbar right here. You can insert a table and create it. Again, this isn't really what I want to go into tonight, but formatting the content in a, sort of like columns for me, I liked on the site, so I did it. It's not essential for SEO. You can just do normal paragraphs. I'll probably spend time on maybe formatting content a little more later, but trust me, if it's not like this, don't worry about it. And it's a whole big headache to try to create it this way. It seems kind of easy to put your content in columns, but it's kind of a pain in the neck too. All of this content is, it's kind of fluff, honestly. You see the sub or the headings here, why pearl jewelry, and then I write a little paragraph about it. I've never worn pearls, does that matter? Then I write a little paragraph about it. Tell me more about your products. This is an interesting little part. Natural pearls versus freshwater pearls. Why are your pearls so affordable? What else should I know? And then I fill it in with a lot of fluff. It's well-written content, and it's valuable if you read it. But honestly, guys, when you get to a website, and be honest with me, do you ever really read, especially on an e-commerce site, do you ever really get in there and read the content? Like, would you get in and read that stuff? Some people might. I mean, I don't, honestly. Ashley, you're with me. Ashley says she doesn't. Like, aren't we kind of programmed to just look for the pictures? Do you know what I mean? Right? Like, you get to a website, I guess it's the same with books, right? When we were younger, we like to look at the pictures. I'm still kind of like that, I guess. When I read books at night to my son, who's 3 years old, we just kind of look at the pictures a lot of times together, right? Sometimes the text goes by the wayside, especially on an e-commerce site. But you still want it valuable. You don't want crap text in there. You want valuable information nonetheless. And that's the one thing that a lot of homepages, I think, miss the point on when it comes to search engine optimization is really, especially startups like us, we need some written content. It needs to be original. You need to use the keyword phrase in there, right? And you'll notice here in my content, if you guys read it through, you guys would find pearl jewelry, and I'll highlight it for you, used several times. There it is, right there. You guys see that? Pearl jewelry, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times in here. I've got it in this heading. I've got it in this subheading, and then I've got it used several times here. Is it too much? I don't think so. I mean, in comparison to the amount of text that's there, it's really not too much, I don't think. If it were used twice as much as that, I think it would be too much. But as I read it through, it sounds very natural, and it's clear I'm not trying to use it over and over again. But I definitely strategically put it in there, for sure. Let's see. Questions about that? Does that make sense, guys? So this is called keyword density, right? How dense is your keyword usage within your content? And I would argue here that we're probably good from a density standpoint. We're not using it too much. We're not using it too little. But this is absolutely unique. It's not copied. That's something I definitely want to drill into your guys' head. Let's see. Oh, yeah, Laura, sorry. I haven't really proofread this. I just cranked this out like this afternoon. So I appreciate that. I'll make sure to fix that little grammatical error. Okay, so let's see here. Okay, good. So I don't see any more comments or questions about that. I think we're good on that. Ashley says, where do you input the content? Okay, good question. So if you guys have a Volusion builder and you're looking to edit your homepage, a lot of times, I'm just going to hit save here. A lot of times if you're on your site like this and you're logged in, see how I roll my mouse over this content and I get a little edit option here? It'll happen for some of you guys, but not all of you guys, right? You roll your mouse over this, you get edit. If I click edit, then I can actually write content. I can edit this stuff, okay? The other option is if you can't do it there, you want to come into the back office of your store and manage it. You want to come in here to design and then site content, okay? Design, site content. You click on it there, and if you scroll through, you're usually able to find your homepage information. Got to scroll down a little ways. It's usually right under here, this section called Home and Welcome Pages. These different sections are different parts of your homepage that you can edit, okay? And Ashley, I know your homepage will have this here somewhere too, so you can come in here. All you do is you click on the little number, and it takes you to an edit screen for the homepage. So guys, that's how to do it from a technical standpoint. You can get in and edit it there. If I clicked on that, it would bring me into where I could change it up a little bit, okay? Okay, so that's written content. Let me share with you guys something else. Back to this. Alt tags, which we skipped over here, number 4, alt tags. An alt tag is what, guys? When I'm talking about alt tags, what am I referring to exactly? Let me get back out to where I'm viewing the site again. As it showed there under word counter here, it said alt tags, image, alternative text. So it certainly has to do with pictures. Ashley, you're exactly right. It's the label that you put onto your picture. Do you remember when we were talking just a minute ago, we talked about how when Google looks at your site, they don't see it visually. They see it from a code standpoint. I'll show you something kind of cool. You can right-click on your page, and if you're using Google Chrome, you can hit this View Page Source, and that'll show you the entire code of the page that you're on. This right here, guys, is that page in the eyes of Google. This is the code. You know, the crazy thing is, years ago, if you guys didn't have this kind of software, like this web building software, you would have had to code all of this by hand in order to create what shows up on my homepage. Isn't that insane? I'm still scrolling here. Look at that. This is all, so I'm going to scroll back up. All this code, that code right there is what the search engine sees, and that back in the day, that's probably, you would have had to code that stuff by hand in order to create what we see here. But since you know, technology has come along in a way that these builders have been created, like Volusion, that essentially create that code for you. Which is why all of us here, without like a computer science background, can actually do this stuff, which is really cool. Because I'm telling you right now, if I tried to build this page 15 years ago, it would have been an absolute nightmare, because I would have had to know all that kind of code. You guys don't have to know it, so I mean, we can have a party over that, because I think over time you guys will learn a little bit about that code, but that's why this builder is so valuable. But that's what Google sees, and when they see an image, I'll show you something here. I'm gonna find, just gonna search for the word alt, and all these images here. This right here is an image in code. Right here. This right here is an image in code. That's what Google sees. So Google has no idea what's actually on your pictures, other than they know that it's a picture. So we have to tell Google what our picture is. That they'd prefer that we did that. A lot of people don't, because they don't take the time to do it, but we are. We're going to tell Google what these pictures are about, and it's way easy to do. If I'm editing one of these elements where I've got a picture, I can click on the picture and I can hit edit, and I just need to put in a title right here. Okay? That's my alt text for the picture. That's the alt tag. This one right here, if I edit it, it has an alt tag. See how I put that in there? Look, notice how I use pearl jewelry right here in this alt tag. That's my main target keyword phrase, right? Now, I don't use pearl jewelry in all of my alt tags, because that would be too obvious. I've got too many pictures here on my page. If I use pearl jewelry every single time in all my alt tags, can you guys imagine? Google would look at my code and they'd be like, hey, that's fishy. Every single one of these pictures is pearl jewelry. They'd be like, I don't know about that. Seems a little fishy. They may penalize me or not, certainly not help me in a situation like that. So, I don't know, just to give you guys an idea, you know, on a page this size, you know, with all these pictures that I have, I've got 2 or 3 alt tags that use pearl jewelry. That's a good number. You don't need to alt tag everything, I guess. I mean, it'd be nice if you did, but at least 2 or 3 of your pictures here, if you've got this many pictures like I do an alt tag. And then for those of you guys who have a slideshow, right under here, under design and homepage slideshow, you can actually assign alt tags to each individual picture. Like, see, you can see right here, I've got 3 slides. I can edit each one of these slides, and then I put in my alt text, pearl jewelry, slide, dash necklace. That's what I've got here. Okay. Those are alt tags. Does that make sense? I'm not seeing a lot of feedback from you guys, so I'm hoping, I mean, seriously, tell me if that's unclear. I want to make sure that makes sense to you guys, so that you guys can replicate that. Alt tags are something that we've done on our other pages too. We talked about it on our products. We certainly talked about it on our categories. Now we're talking about it on our homepage. Any page on your site that has an image, it would be nice to issue it an alt tag if you can. Everybody says, yeah, makes sense. Yeah, I'm getting good feedback on that. Okay, yeah, not a difficult concept to understand. So just to summarize, though, right? Let me show you guys. Let me go back to this this code that we were looking at, and I'm going to do a search here for pearl jewelry. I don't know if you guys have done this on your browser. You can do a Control F, or if you're on a Mac, you can do a Command F, and then I get this little box over here that I can type in a keyword phrase, and then it'll highlight all the times it shows up on the page. So it says one of 10 showing here. So if I look down on the page, I'll just keep clicking. Look at all the different times that I use pearl jewelry. Okay, it's all throughout. It's all throughout the entire page. Notice it's right here under the this right here is that meta description we did. Right, it's coding it in for us. Right, here's our meta title. Okay, that's all here in the code. We just did it inside our builder, but it puts it in the code, and that's what Google's looking at. And I've got it everywhere, right? Pearl jewelry, meta title, meta description, alt tags, in my content, H tags, right? So there's no question in Google's mind when they crawl this page and they're trying to figure out what's my page about, they're going to know, right? It's about pearl jewelry, and that's exactly my goal right now. Because if I can at least get Google to agree that that's what this page is about, I'm going to show up somewhere in search results when somebody types in pearl jewelry in Google, right? I'm going to go here, google.com. I'm going to type in pearl jewelry, and my site's going to be somewhere. Now, it probably isn't anywhere right this second because I just did this today. Google's got to still come back and crawl my site and then decide where to rank me. But the question is, and this is going to be kind of the lead in to our next webinar, what happens if I've done all this work and I still find myself on page 7 of Google, which could very well be the case because this is a very competitive keyword phrase for me. I've done all this SEO and I'm still not ranking in the top here. And you can see here, who am I competing with? I'm competing with Overstock, Blue Nile, K.com, Zales. I mean, these are recognizable names. Pearl Paradise, I've never heard of them. Amazon, Macy's, right? Like a lot of name brand sites. I need to replace one of them. And if I'm not, if just by virtue of all this SEO, I'm not ranking, there's still stuff that I can do. What we've done over the last few weeks, talking about on-site optimization and keyword research, is sort of like that's like half of the game plan to ranking with Google. We haven't even touched on the other half. And that's what we're going to start doing in subsequent weeks, which I'm really excited about because this is where, for me, it gets more fun and creative. For you guys that are sort of a little more analytical and maybe scientific, numbers-oriented people, this SEO stuff is easy for you. It makes sense because there's a very specific path that you follow, and I kind of outlined that tonight. For you guys who are a little more creative, it's probably like nails on a chalkboard, this SEO stuff. It's not as fun for you guys. But the second part of SEO is where it does get fun for you guys because it uses a little more of the creative side of people. And we're going to be talking all about that in the coming weeks. So, but that's beyond the scope of tonight. I'm telling you right now, if you do this SEO the way we've taught over the past few weeks, on your homepage, on your category pages, on your product pages, we've at least won half the battle. We've got to do the other part, and I'll be sharing that with you guys shortly. One last note before I move on to just finishing up. You'll notice here on my homepage, in that content we were talking about, where applicable, I actually link certain things. So notice here how I created a link for pearl bracelets, right? Like here's what I wrote here for those of you guys who can't really read this very well because it's small. It says uptownpearl.com carries pearl necklaces, pearl earrings, and pearl bracelets. Each one of these is linked to the appropriate page. So if I click on pearl bracelets, Lo and behold, it takes me to my pearl bracelets page. Okay. That's actually valuable from an SEO standpoint because Google looks at all of your links. So a good rule of thumb when you're writing content, if you mention something in your content about a category or about a product or about an informational page or whatever, make the link, create a link, and connect it to that page. It's way easy to do. If I'm on this page, this is my pearl bracelet page. Notice this right up here. This is your URL for the page. That's the specific web address for this specific page. If I copy that and I want to create a link on my home page, it's very simple. Let me go back to my home page. I've got it copied. I've got my address for my pearl bracelets page. I can come down here to my content and let me hit the edit button right here. And let's say down here I talked more about pearl bracelets. Okay, so I said something like customers especially love our pearl bracelets. Okay, and let's say I want pearl bracelets to link. I simply just highlight it like that. Okay, it's highlighted. Come up here to the toolbar and I select the little link icon right here. If you guys can see that, it's kind of small, but there it is. And I select insert link and I just paste that URL in right there. Okay, that's the URL for the page that it wants to be linked to, and I hit insert. And then I hit the save button, and lo and behold, I'm going to create a link right here. Okay, so where applicable, you should be linking text in your content to certain pages of your site where it makes sense. That's just a good rule of thumb from an SEO standpoint. Okay, so there it is, guys. That's your homepage SEO done right in Volusion. I'm going to open it up for questions for just a few minutes because we've got a few minutes. What questions do you guys have? Go ahead and put it in the chat box there. For those of you guys who are watching this recorded, I'll probably close it here in just a minute, depending on if we get any questions or not. So let me leave it open for just a sec. Ask away if you guys have anything. SEO-wise for the homepage, or even just general SEO for a website. I'm happy to answer any questions. So I'll give you guys a sec. And seriously, for those of you guys who aren't quite here yet with your site, maybe you're still working on designing out the site, maybe you're adding products, whatever the case may be, it's still important for you guys to know that maybe you don't even have your site up yet, but hopefully this is clear because this is stuff that you guys will have to do at least at some point. Stephanie asks, what's the button that I clicked when I linked the words pearl bracelets? Let me show you that again. Sorry, that was I know that was kind of fast. Let me come on back down to edit this section. It's this button right here. It's this little it looks like a chain link. I think that's what they're trying to show you there. Maybe I can zoom in. Yeah, there we go. That's better. It's this button right here. That's your link button. And while I'm here, I'll just show you that's your link button. This is your insert image button. Bold, italicize, strike through. Here's where we get the H tag. This right here, if we click on it, switches it all into code like that. And don't stress out because if you click it again, you get your content back. Okay. Anyway, hopefully that answers your question. Delmy, Bob, yeah, Bob, you said you need Delmy to be able to see this and help with this. Guys, I'm recording this, so I will definitely make sure you guys get a copy of the recording, no question. Okay, Kirk asked, where would you recommend linking the site name? Clarify that. What do you mean linking the site name, Kirk? If you can just clarify that for me, I'd appreciate that. Stephanie says if you click on Let's see. If you click on it, there was a URL email anchor. Oh, okay. Let me get back to what you were talking about there. Oh, I think I know what you're talking about. The anchor is the anchor is like a certain spot on the page, I think. Like you can actually create a link and link it to like a place on the page instead of just the top. I don't ever use it. It's not something that I'll typically use. So I think, although hold on, let me look at one of the links here, because I think anchor might just refer to the actual text of the link. Let me highlight that link. Let me click on it. No, yeah, the anchor is it should be a web address to point it to a certain part of the page. It's never something you're going to use, only under a special circumstance. So I wouldn't worry about that. Email is if you make the link link to like an email account that will pop up someone's email system on their computer and automatically email that account. So that's not something you're going to use very often. And then, of course, the URL is just the web address that the link is supposed to point to, if that makes sense. Sorry, hopefully that makes a little bit more sense. Araceli says, can you use 2 keyword phrases for optimization? You can. You can optimize a page around 2 phrases. Typically, when you're starting your site, to keep it simple, we optimize around 1 and keep it very relevant for that 1 phrase. I would recommend most of you guys optimize each page around just 1 specific keyword phrase. Okay, I'm gonna turn off the recording and then finish up, because this is already kind of long, and then we'll finish up some of the answers to your guys' questions. For those of you guys who are watching this recorded, thank you for coming and listening. We'll see you next time. More SEO marketing presentations to